Hello everyone! Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to dive into a story about resilience, honesty, and the unexpected twists of life. Let's see how a young girl, returning from abroad with nothing but a dream, finds her way in the big city. Under the scorching sun of the outskirts, Lynn stopped by the roadside, her sneakers worn out from the long journey. She looked toward the shimmering skyscrapers on the horizon, the city where she hoped to restart her life. Beside her was Dao Dao, her loyal little dog, wagging its tail expectantly. A middle-aged woman with a heavy load on her shoulders approached. Noticing Lynn's exhausted appearance, she asked, "Where are you going?" Lynn offered a polite smile. "Hello, Auntie. I'm on my way to the city to find a job." The woman looked at her dusty feet in surprise. "Oh, so you're going to walk all the way to the city?" Lynn could only nod in confirmation. The woman sighed with concern and asked about her resting place. "You slept here last night, didn't you?" Lynn honestly replied that she had slept by the road and had only a piece of bread for dinner the previous night. When asked about her own work, the woman shared that she had just returned from picking medicinal leaves in the forest. She didn't forget to warn Lynn, "It's still very far from here to the city. Be careful on the way." Before parting ways, the kind woman pulled out a loaf of bread and a bottle of water. "Dear, take this bread and this bottle of water to drink on the road." Although she was initially hesitant to accept, Lynn eventually took them with immense gratitude after seeing the woman's sincerity. "Dao, let's go!" Lynn called her small dog, continuing her journey with a spark of human warmth in her heart. After parting with the kind woman, Lynn and Dao Dao continued their walk toward the city center. The sun reached its peak, and the heat radiating from the asphalt blurred her vision. At that moment, a middle-aged man in a hurry brushed past her. He was talking on the phone, his face etched with anxiety. Thump! A blue object hit the ground just as the man quickened his pace. It was a blue folder. Lynn froze. She looked at the folder, then at the man's receding back. For a split second, a thought flashed through her mind. What if there's money inside? Hunger and financial exhaustion could make anyone waver. But immediately, Dao Dao's innocent eyes seemed to remind her of her parents' teachings. "Sir, you dropped something," Lynn called out loudly. However, the noise of traffic and his intense phone conversation meant the man didn't hear her. Lynn didn't give up. Clutching her backpack and leading Dao Dao, she ran a short distance to catch up. "Hello, did you see the blue cover I left here?" The man turned back, searching in a panic. Gasping for breath, Lynn held out the folder. "Yes, I called out to you earlier, but you didn't hear. Blue, right?" The man looked at Lynn, a disheveled girl in old shoes, and then at the vital documents in her hand. His gaze shifted from suspicion to extreme relief. "How lucky! Thank you!" He reached for his wallet to offer her some reward money, but Lynn gently shook her head, offered a polite goodbye, and continued her journey. She had no idea that those documents held the fate of an entire major project, and that this chance encounter would return to her in the future. The city appeared before Lynn's eyes, not with the shimmering lights of the night, but with a suffocating noise and coldness. With an empty stomach and swollen feet, Lynn began her journey of knocking on every door, searching for a chance to survive. She stopped in front of a large store, hoping her neatest possible appearance would help. "Auntie, is there a need for workers here?" Lynn asked the owner softly. The response she received was a scrutinizing look from head to toe. "No, we already have enough people here." Go up there and ask, okay? Lynn continued walking. She sought out the smallest part-time jobs, from washing dishes to cleaning. Auntie, do you know any place hiring part-time staff? But in response to her plea were only indifferent shakes of the head. I don't know. Go ask somewhere else, okay? With each rejection, the hope in Lynn's eyes faded a bit more. The women she met all waved her away as if she were a nuisance. Dao Dao seemed to sense its owner's sadness, walking silently beside her, occasionally rubbing its head against her hand as if to offer comfort. As darkness began to cover the streets, Lynn realized that this city seemed to have no room for a stranger with no money and no connections like her. As the city's colorful lights flickered to life, Lynn realized she was utterly lost. After dozens of rejections, her legs could no longer stand firm. She sought out a secluded spot under a bridge, spreading an old coat onto the cold cement floor. Are you tired? I'm sorry. I'll go find a place for you to sleep, okay? Lynn whispered to Dao Dao through choked sobs. Lying there, the roar of traffic above couldn't suppress the flood of memories from abroad. Only a few months ago, she was an elite student, full of hope with an honors degree in hand. However, a major incident at her internship, where she was framed for financial fraud orchestrated by powerful figures, stripped everything away. Unable to clear her name, Lynn chose to return, carrying the pain of betrayal and a broken soul. She hid her university degree at the very bottom of her backpack. In this city, she refused to use it until she could find justice for herself. Lynn held Dao Dao tightly in her arms to find a bit of warmth. Amidst the surrounding darkness, she promised herself, "This is the lowest point of my life. From tomorrow on, I must climb back up." As dawn broke, Lynn washed her face with cold water from a public tap. She no longer sought out luxury shops, but stopped at a wholesale market bustling with buyers and sellers. Here, she accepted a job loading heavy crates of vegetables for a large stall. Looking at her hands, once used only for typing and turning textbooks, now starting to bleed from sharp wooden edges, Lynn simply bit her lip and endured it. "Hey, little girl, be careful. These goods bruise easily." A man's voice rang out. Lynn looked up and froze. It was the same man who had dropped the blue folder the other day. He no longer looked rushed and anxious as before. Instead, he was walking with a group of people in elegant suits, apparently conducting a field survey for an organic farming project. The man looked at Lynn, then down at Dao Dao, who was sitting obediently next to a pile of pallets. He frowned, trying to remember something. "Aren't you the girl who helped me find my documents in the outskirts?" He spoke, surprise clear on his face. Lynn only gave a slight nod, intending to return to her loading work to avoid drawing attention. But the man stopped her. "Those documents are the lifeblood of my company. I've been looking everywhere to thank you, but couldn't find you. Why would someone of, well, such a kind person like you be working here?" That question touched Lynn's hidden pain, opening an opportunity she had never dared to dream of. That man was Mr. Min, the chairman of a major agricultural import-export corporation. Recognizing Lynn's composure and honesty, he decided to bring her to the office to work temporarily as a logistics assistant. However, the appearance of a disheveled girl coming straight from the wholesale market met with contemptuous glares from senior staff. "We hire people with looks here, not someone who looks like a vagabond." The arrogant HR manager's voice rang out when she saw Lynn enter in her old clothes. Lynn didn't talk back. she quietly sat at her assigned desk corner. A crisis occurred when a foreign partner sent a complex contract in French and English, filled with specialized agricultural technical terms that the translation department was struggling with. The signing ceremony was to take place in 30 minutes, but the translation was still seriously flawed. Amidst the chaos, Lynn quietly approached the computer, her fingers gliding across the keyboard with incredible speed. In just 15 minutes, a perfect contract was printed. Lynn adjusted the blue folder, the memento of her first meeting with Mr. Min, and placed it on the chairman's desk. When Mr. Min finished reading, he looked in shock at the girl standing modestly by the wall. The entire office fell silent. They had no idea that behind that haggard appearance was a brilliant mind that had once earned a full scholarship abroad. Lynn's brilliance during the contract signing meant she was no longer an anonymous girl. Her image, appearing in the corporation's internal news, accidentally caught the eye of a group of partners flying in from abroad to negotiate a new project. Among them was Jason, Lynn's former direct supervisor, and the very person who framed her, leading to her professional ruin. At the gala dinner, Jason was stunned to see Lynn in elegant office attire, standing beside Mr. Min. He didn't miss the chance to humiliate her once again. In front of the guests, Jason spoke loudly. "Mr. Min, I'm surprised a major corporation like this would employ a fraud. This girl was fired from our company for millions of dollars in financial fraud." The room erupted in whispers. The admiring glances from before quickly turned into suspicion and contempt. The HR manager, who already disliked Lynn, added fuel to the fire. "I suspected it from the start. How could a vagabond have actual talent?" Lynn stood there, her hands clenched. Dao Dao, lying at her feet, growled softly as if sensing the danger. Instead of running away like last time, Lynn looked straight into Jason's eyes. She pulled a small USB drive from her blue folder, the very item she had risked everything to protect throughout her journey home. "I've been waiting for this day for a long time, Jason. The truth can never be buried forever." The entire room held its breath as Lynn plugged the USB drive into the projector. On the large screen, lines of code and hidden transaction histories appeared. This was not just evidence to clear her name. It was proof that Jason had been secretly embezzling funds from partner corporations for personal gain. "Look, everyone, this is the truth." Lynn spoke firmly, her voice no longer trembling, but full of authority. "I left in silence because I didn't want a war. But my kindness does not mean I am weak." Jason turned pale. He tried to rush forward to seize the USB, but security guards held him back. At that moment, Mr. Min stepped up. Everyone waited in silence for the powerful chairman's decision. Mr. Min looked at Lynn, then turned to the guests. "In business, talent is necessary, but moral character is what creates lasting value. I choose to trust Ms. Lynn, because someone willing to go hungry to return documents to a stranger could never be a fraud." Mr. Min's support was like a bucket of cold water splashed on those who were about to side with Jason. However, the surprises didn't end there. The woman who picked medicinal leaves in the forest years ago suddenly appeared at the party as Mr. Min's mother. She smiled and came forward to take Lynn's hand. "My dear, I told you, just keep going and you will arrive. Your sincerity is the most precious ticket to enter this city." After the party, Jason was taken away, but Lynn knew this was only the beginning. A larger force behind Jason, the Black Star rival corporation, was secretly executing a plan to hostilely take over Mr. Min's company through a loophole in the financial security system. They had planted another mole right within the board of directors. That night, Mr. Min's office suffered a massive cyber attack. The entire trading system was frozen, and the opponent threatened to spread false rumors to tank the stock price. Amidst the panic, Lynn entered the server room. Her eyes were sharp and cold, her hands gliding across the keyboard like the wind. She recognized this malware as an upgraded version of the very thing that had once caused her to be framed abroad. "So it was you all along," Lynn whispered. She didn't just stop the attack. She turned the tables, tracing back the IP address of the mastermind. The final twist was revealed. The traitor was none other than the HR manager, the one who had always tried to kick Lynn out. She had conspired with Black Star to sabotage the company from within. When the evidence was brought to light during an emergency meeting the next morning, everyone was stunned by the malice of those disguised as professionals. After the Black Star Corporation's conspiracy was crushed and the traitors were brought to justice, Mr. Min's corporation didn't just survive. It expanded globally thanks to the technological solutions Lynn developed. Lynn was appointed Chief Strategy Officer, becoming the youngest woman to hold this position in the company's history. Her reputation abroad was also fully restored after the evidence from the USB was sent to international authorities. One weekend afternoon, instead of attending lavish parties, Lynn decided to drive back to the suburban road from years ago. She was no longer walking, but she still had Dao Dao by her side. Lynn stopped exactly where she had met the kind woman picking medicinal herbs. Here, a small rest station for poor laborers and students from afar had been built by a charity fund established by Lynn herself. Mr. Min and his mother, the kind auntie from that year, were waiting for her. She looked at Lynn, now a successful and confident woman, and smiled. "I knew you would come back here." Lynn held her hand tightly, choked with emotion. "Without that loaf of bread and your trust that day, there would be no Director Lynn today." The story closes with the image of Lynn and Dao Dao walking through a lush green field with a brilliant sunset in the distance. The city remains noisy and harsh, but Lynn has proven that when we maintain our kindness and never stop striving, the whole world will make way for us.
Thank you so much for watching today's video until the very end. Your presence is the greatest gift to me. Every view and every moment you spend here is a huge motivation for me to keep improving and releasing higher quality content in the future. Creating content isn't easy, but your silent support gives me the strength to stay creative every day. If you found today's video interesting and relaxing, please don't hesitate to give me a like. Your small actions are the most precious recognition of our team's hard work. And especially if you are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe.